Joining us for Eye on New Mexico, I'm Spencer Schott. Now, this week we are looking at safe outdoor spaces. What are they? How will they help with the homeless problem? And the question on many people's minds, will they pop up in your neighborhood? Plans and different approaches on how to handle Albuquerque's growing homeless problem have been taking shape over the past few months. City Council finally approved safe outdoor spaces, the mayor closed Coronado Park, and the city continues to make progress on the Gateway Center. But now stakeholders want a little bit more support from the rest of the city.
I will say that the public of Albuquerque has complained a lot about the problem of people being homeless. Come help us. Come be part of the solution.
So far, there have been 3 outdoor spaces approved by the city, and 2 of them will be operated by the organization Heading Home. Our Julie Frendak got a first-hand look at one of the future safe outdoor spaces that'll be connected to the West Side Shelter. She explains how it will specifically help those living out of their cars.
It's not perfect.
Safe outdoor spaces we don't believe to be the final answer.
But it's a start.
When no one else is stepping up, we felt like we needed to.
Steve Decker is the CEO of Heading Home, the state's largest provider for the homeless population. It will now operate 2 of 3 approved safe outdoor spaces in Albuquerque,
where we can provide support, resources, showers, toilets, and not put them out in the field.
Both spaces will neighbor facilities the organization already operates, the Albuquerque Opportunity Center and the West Side Shelter.
We have staff on site already. We have security on site already. We have facilities for people to use. So in my mind, they're simply an extension of what we're already doing.
The plan is to cater specifically to people who live in their cars. Decker estimates that's about 300 people across the city.
It's not so much about safety so much as it is about the ability to progress. If you're moving every single day, you're never going to get to a point where you can have a stable job and save enough for an apartment or a home.
Decker noted neither space has any appeals yet, compared to 7 appeals on the 3rd space at Manal near the Big Eye that will house tents.
We actually have a design, and we know what we're doing. We know how to give a programmatic framework for people to be in.
At this point, he says anything is worth a shot.
Nothing that has been done in Albuquerque to date has worked to reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness. Nothing. If there's a new opportunity like safe outdoor spaces, why not try it?
Now, we are joined by Julie Frendak, who has really been following this whole saga of safe outdoor spaces. So thank you so much for stopping by with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
So tell us a little bit more about safe outdoor spaces. As of right now, how many are approved?
Yeah, so there's 3 approved, and I'll give you sort of the rundown on each one because they've come within weeks of each other. So the first one that was approved was at Manal near the Big Eye. That one will specifically be 4 tents, actually. The idea is to have, I think, 40 tents there, and that will be specifically tailored to women. And then these 2 other spaces that have followed that one that have come online that Heading Home will actually operate. One of them is near the Albuquerque Opportunity Center on Candelaria Road, actually just a couple blocks from that first space on Manal. So that one is there. That one will be for cars specifically. So I think we heard Steve Decker in that story say 300 people across the city are dealing with homelessness and living in their cars specifically. So he kind of called them the invisible homeless, the people that we don't always think about, but that still do need those services in order to get out of their vehicles. So that's space number 2 over at the Albuquerque Opportunity Center. And then space number 3 is what we saw video of there. It's actually adjacent to the West Side Shelter. So that's space number 3. The idea there is to have 40 vehicles, space for up to 40 cars. And again, Heading Home will operate that 2nd and that 3rd space.
So Heading Home is really focusing on the car homeless places. Who's kind of taking control for the tent outdoor space?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's called Dawn Legacy Point. It's actually a new nonprofit organization, but it's an arm off of, or I shouldn't say arm, but the same people who have established and made Street Safe New Mexico a success, which is a nonprofit here in town that works specifically with women who have either been trafficked or at risk of being trafficked. A lot of those women are homeless as well. So the same people who have made that a success have now moved in, made this new organization called Dawn Legacy Point, and that is the organization that will take the lead on that first space and provide the tents and all the other infrastructure that will come along with that.
Now, out of those 3 spaces, which one kind of has come under fire by the community?
Yeah, so space number 1 when it comes to the tents. It seems like as of right now there are 7 appeals against that first safe outdoor space. Again, that's the one at Manal near the Big Eye. It's in a vacant parking lot right now, but their plan is again for 40 tents in that area. And then the second 2, the ones that are again adjacent to facilities that Heading Home already operates and that they already have programs running out of there, already have staff working there and security there. There are no appeals for that one. So it is that first space that has come under fire by neighborhood associations, local businesses, and really a lot of people in the city in general who have some concerns about, you know, what these spaces will be and what sort of activities will come along with people openly being allowed to live in tents.
Because we see those tents all over the city already, and they're already in that neighborhood. Have you talked to these neighborhood associations as well?
So I personally haven't. So a lot of my stories have been informational, I guess you would say, and just updating constantly what's been going on in city council, what's been going on when it comes to the approval for these spaces, things like that. So I've actually spoken a lot to the people on the Dawn Legacy Point side, the people who have fought pretty hard to get this space there, to open that up and to get the approval for it. So I can't speak specifically to the neighborhood association's concerns, but I know we've covered it. I think a lot of people are sort of familiar with the concerns that have come along with these spaces.
Both sides really fighting for it.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, one side saying this is what we need, let's try it, let's give it a shot. I think it could be successful. And then, of course, on the other hand, a lot of people who say, I don't want this in my neighborhood, I don't want this near my business because of X, Y, and Z risks.
Definitely. And I'm so glad you brought up the city council aspect, because coming up right after the break, we're looking back at the role city council played in making safe outdoor spaces a reality. Stay tuned. There has been a lot of back and forth when it comes to safe outdoor spaces. Some city councilors have pretty much been against this plan since it was first proposed. Others supported it the whole time, but even more have changed their minds a few times.
A lot of us are just frustrated with the back and forth and want to get forward in doing something. It's been more than 6 months since we started this debate, and everybody can tell we haven't gotten any better in that time without any new solutions.
Now, shortly after that first vote for safe outdoor spaces, one city councilor, Brooke Bassan, changed her mind and introduced a new bill that would block these spaces. Ryan Laughlin explains why.
In hindsight, I wish I would have just known I shouldn't have voted for safe outdoor spaces if living lots failed. But here we are.
City Councilor Brooke Bassan is at the center of the safe outdoor spaces debate because her vote paved the way for them to come to Albuquerque. And now she's leading the charge to stop them.
We need to listen to the public. We need to listen to what they're saying.
She changed her position because she says she heard from an overwhelming number of people who do not want city-sanctioned homeless camps.
We're celebrating.
Brad Day sees it differently.
You got to go from the street over to here where you're safe. And you can clean up every day. Otherwise, you got no chance of getting a job.
He's helping get the very first approved safe outdoor space right by the Big Eye get up and running. They will be grandfathered in regardless of any moratorium vote, which is led by Councilor Bassan, an attempt to halt any more safe outdoor spaces from getting approved. City planning shows others are trying to get to the finish line. There's one in the South Valley and another on the west side that a church wants to manage.
We know there's a homeless problem. We know it. We see it every day driving back and forth downtown, the east side, the west side. We see it all the time.
And another one in the North Valley that an already operating homeless shelter wants to open. But time is ticking.
August 15th, when we'll hear the bill on the moratorium, that's going to change everything. So right now, people can squeeze these through.
Now, Julie was actually at that meeting where Bassan was talking to her constituents, and it sounds like that's kind of where she decided to change her mind. What was that meeting like?
Yeah, so I mean, that was first of all, at a time when these spaces were still on really shaky ground. I think that was in July, early July though, when that meeting happened, and we were still in the process of, yes, the spaces had been approved for, for the development ordinance. They were allowed to be zoned for in the city, but we were in the very beginning stages. Council was in the stages of still trying to figure out what these spaces were going to look like, and the moratorium didn't even exist yet. That wasn't even on the table yet. But for that meeting specifically, it was at a time when there was still so much confusion, I feel like, within the city. So people, heard what the spaces were and they had a knee-jerk reaction to them, right? So the reason for that meeting, and so many people at that meeting, was because there was a post on Nextdoor that went around that said they're going to use a space that's adjacent to a Northeast Heights park for one of these safe outdoor spaces, which it wasn't true. It was one of the, many things that come out of social media and how that can change things. So Councilor Bassan was there for a totally different reason, but then a lot of her constituents had come because they saw the post and they were like, what's going on? So, I mean, it was heated, to say the least. A lot of people were upset. They didn't want, again, this space in their neighborhood. They had the argument that we already deal with homeless people in our businesses, on our sidewalks, in our neighborhood, so why allow them to come infiltrate a park where kids are, and a whole other mess of concerns. But
snowballed.
Exactly, yeah. And like I said, there was a lot of heated discussion, and Councilor Bassan, yeah, I think that was at a time where she said, let me take a step back and let you guys kind of guide me on what to do next, I guess.
So after hearing that heated discussion, are you surprised she changed her stance?
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I can't speak for her as a city councilor, but I think what a lot of our city councilors tout is we listen to our constituents, we hear your concerns, and then we try to do what we can to kind of get rid of your concerns or make things better in your neighborhood and in the place where I represent. So I think that probably played into it, right? It's hard to ignore when people are yelling at you in the middle of a community meeting. So like I said, I can't speak for her, but I personally would find it hard to ignore those types of concerns from people.
And so shortly after that meeting, she introduced the moratorium that you mentioned earlier. What was the trajectory of safe outdoor spaces after that moratorium was introduced to City Council? Yeah,
so this is where it gets a little hairy. It gets a little complicated. So stick with me. I'll try to be as clear and short as possible. So right after that meeting, City Council went on their summer break. So well, let me backtrack. Right after that meeting, there was another vote by City Council a couple of weeks later that if councilors voted yes, it would tell the city, family community services, city departments, go ahead and come up with the framework for these spaces. But councilors voted that down. So then they were at a standstill. A couple weeks pass, moratorium comes up in August. Councilors do pass that moratorium. They agree to put a pause on the application process for up to a year until we can figure out what's going on with these spaces. Councilors passed the moratorium, then actually Mayor Keller came back and vetoed that vote. So then it went back to council for a second vote, and they didn't have enough votes to overturn the mayor's veto. So moratorium is now currently off the table.
And so now we have safe outdoor spaces, and they're here to stay.
Yes, maybe. So, yeah, I mean, so I think this is definitely a pilot program, and that's something that hasn't been discussed at length in City Council, so I'm not super versed on that. But I believe it is either a year or 2-year pilot program, but I'm unclear on that. But I know it is a pilot, so it's not permanently in the city's IDO, and it won't be a permanent thing as of right now.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for breaking that all down. I'm sure unless you're at the City Council meeting, it was hard to follow.
Exactly, yes.
Well, coming up after the break, now that Safe Outdoor Spaces passed City Council, again, we're asking what comes next. We'll break that down after the break. Now, earlier this month, City Council voted once again to pass Safe Outdoor Spaces. But a big question that has come up is funding. Lauren Green talks to city officials to find out where this money will be coming from.
Albuquerque's Safe Outdoor Spaces are still underway after last night's City Council meeting. So what happens next? All of the preliminary stages for Safe Outdoor Spaces can now move forward without hesitation.
Well, at least in the city, the question of will we have a safe space option is settled.
Moving forward also means looking for more funding to make sure that these outdoor spaces can run efficiently and actually be safe. Some of the funding originally set aside for Safe Outdoor Spaces was relocated to funding homeless veterans after Councilor Dan Lewis's bill passed late last night.
Until we could actually reverse the bill, or reverse the Safe Outdoor Spaces in the zoning code. And so there was no need to fund that program, and so we moved that program to other services where we can get that money to work right away for veterans.
Mayor Keller believes the funding for the project will come in other ways as well.
We know that the program itself is still valid, and so the funding question is really a separate question. And so folks can obviously fund it through their own nonprofit or church, and we'll see what other kind of city support might be available.
Now, Julie, Lauren mentioned in her story that the funding for the Safe Outdoor Spaces kind of got pushed away by Dan Lewis's bill. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, my understanding, and I was actually listening into the City Council meeting where Councilor Lewis brought this forward and kind of his arguments about the funding and things like that. And I mean, he's voted against these spaces. He's been one of the councilors who has since the beginning, I believe. So, so basically, it's my understanding that he wanted to see this money used, $750,000 out of the city budget. He wanted to see it used for a program where we could see the benefits of it right away, other than waiting till, this whole appeal process is over with these spaces and things like that, until we could even think about funding some of these spaces. And so he wanted it to go to homeless veterans and programs that benefit homeless veterans. And that's my understanding of it, and that is the understanding behind it, is that he just wanted to see it be spent in a more immediate way.
And not wait for all the details to be ironed out for Safe Outdoor Spaces.
Exactly.
Gotcha. And so if funding is still kind of up in the table, we heard Mayor Keller say that he's kind of reaching out for local nonprofits and other organizations to fund their own spaces. What spaces are kind of up in the air right now? We said we had 3 approved earlier. What else is out there?
Yeah, so right now we've got the 3 approved ones, and then we've got 2 that are currently under review per the planning department's website, and then 3 more that are waiting to be reviewed. So a couple of those that are still on the table, either under review or waiting for it, are religious organization based. It actually says it right in the application process there that it's listed whether or not a religious institution is connected to this space. So there's still a couple of churches who obviously are interested in this, and it seems to me also that when there are the outdoor spaces for cars to be parked in rather than the tents, there's less infrastructure that needs to be bought. I mean, a lot of people will keep their belongings in their car, so there's no need for the lockers, that a space that have tents would be paying for, and a couple other things when it comes to infrastructure expenses. So I think that there's a difference there in spending when you're talking about spaces for cars other than spaces for tents. And not to mention, Heading Home is our state's largest homeless population provider, so they have funding. I mean, they're a nonprofit organization that's obviously successful in the community. I'm not saying that they're going to be funding their own spaces. I don't know where that money's coming from for them, but I do know that, of course, they are very much in this community. They are established in Albuquerque with a couple of locations, so that might be a consideration in all of this as well.
And so Heading Home has those 2 spaces. Are they applying for any more?
You know, I haven't gotten to ask that question. I'm not sure. I know that I'm unaware of any other facilities that they run in the city, and that's just me being unaware of that at this point. So it's hard for me to say, but I know there are definitely, like I said, some churches on there that, like Mayor Keller said, maybe they'll be able to get their own funding if the city money isn't able to come through.
And speaking of churches, you talked at length with one church, Bethlehem Baptist Church. What is their approach for these safe outdoor spaces, or what are they hoping to come out of it?
Yeah, so a lot of his points were just, if we can do something. I think we heard from the pastor, Dennis Hubbard, in Ryan's story that we aired a couple minutes ago. And his point is, if you can help your community, then why not do it? He said that we see homelessness everywhere. I mean, it's common knowledge now in Albuquerque that this is an issue. I don't think that anyone disagrees with that. So this problem's not going away, so if we can do something, then why don't we? And I think that's the similar kind of stance between everyone who's applied for these and everyone who's been an advocate, because the city keeps talking about, let's have an all-around approach. Let's use every tool in the toolbox, and that's what people keep going back to that I've spoken to, that says, we've got this option on the table, why don't we take it?
And like you said, if it's just a pilot program, if it's not working in 2 years, back to the drawing board.
That's what they say.
That's a good plan. And so with the one places we mentioned earlier, there's an appeal process. So while there are 3 that have been approved, 1 is coming under fire. And so what does that appeal process look like, and how many are kind of appealing this one space by Manal and the Giant Eye?
Right. So there's currently 7 appeals against the planning department's decision to approve that space in particular for a safe outdoor space. So that means that a hearing officer has a certain amount of time to hear those appeals, hear the reasoning behind it, and make a decision. And I think I'm almost positive, I apologize, I should have had this knowledge before we started, but it is my belief that it will then go back to City Council. So once this appeal is decided in either way, then it will go back to City Council for one final vote on whether or not that zoning decision stands.
Gotcha.
So it could be, in the next couple of weeks. I think this first approved space that we had, I mean, 7 appeals. To me and to, I'm sure, a lot of other people in the community, that sounds like a lot. I mean, that's a lot working against you. So in the next couple of days, we could know whether it'll go back to City Council to decide its fate.
Kind of be back on the table once again for this space.
Once again, yes. Yeah, it's been a long road for that space.
The saga continues for safe outdoor spaces.
Yes, the saga is not over. No, it is not. Yeah.
And so when you've been covering these City Council meetings, I'm sure there's been a lot of public comment for both sides. Are there any comments that really stood out to you while listening to those meetings?
Yeah, I mean, they're all similar in nature. There's the people who sort of echo all of these nonprofits and these homeless advocates who say, let's just try it. Let's just see what happens and try it. But when you're talking about one that is going to be in your neighborhood or in your backyard, people get upset, and those are some of the comments that have stuck out to me, that people will come with individual concerns that say, I'm gonna, have my fence, join this safe outdoor space, and I don't want that. I don't want people, illegally on my sidewalks, or, you know, bringing drugs into my neighborhood, or, you know, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of that, and there are a lot of people, dozens at city council meetings, will take advantage of that public comment period to let councilors know how they feel about it, for sure.
Definitely. So going forward, we have 3 approved, 2 for sure, and those are the drive-in ones, correct?
Yep, for cars.
And then the 10th one on Manal and the Big I, that's going through the appeals process once again, and we'll see where the other ones come up if they get approved.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I said, there's still 2 for sure under review by the planning department. So if their applications go through, then we'll have 2 more potentially in the next couple weeks.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Julie, for stopping by and breaking all of that down for us.
No problem.
It really makes it easier for us to understand.
Okay, I hope so. I hope so.
And thank you for watching. We'll be back next weekend with another Eye on New Mexico.